Hey everyone, welcome back to Citywide Blackout, your home for music, movies, and more. I'm your host, Max Bowen. In this episode, I'm talking with author Cheryl Alleyne for her new book, Belle Vue, available August 25th through Crystal Lake Publishing. This book gives us a pretty unique take on the haunted house genre, as we see the origins of Belle Vue Manor, formerly a Victorian lunatic asylum, and let's just say it's not much better in the here and now. And folks, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, that is horror. I'm a huge horror nerd. I love the books, the movies, the whole nine yards, and I am chatting with author Cheryl Alleyne for her debut novel, Belle Vue, which will be available on August 25th through one of my favorite companies, Crystal Lake Publishing. Cheryl, it is a pleasure talking to you. I cannot wait to dive right into this one.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Max, and I'm looking forward to a lively discussion.
A lovely discussion about dead things, I might add. So
yes.
This book, okay, let me give you guys a quick run through about the book. So this one focuses on history student Alex Palmer and his girlfriend Claire Ryan buying an apartment in the Belle Vue Manor. And everything works out fine. They get an amazing deal, they love it there, and they live there forever. The end. No. This place used to be a Victorian lunatic asylum. And that's where things go south. Cheryl, now this is certainly a subject which we have heard before. You know, people go into a house, it's got some history. How do you make this book stand out from the many other books, movies, and so forth that have already been made?
I think it's very much a matter about the passion that there is. It's set in two timelines. So it's very much about the connections of what's happening in the Victorian times and the impact that is having on the current residents within Belle Vue. And it's very much character-driven. There is a story of vengeance, and it's a paranormal story, and it's one that has shocking scenes in it, but not graphic ones, I don't think. And it's very much a lot of twists, a lot of surprises, a lot of creepiness, and some of the reviewers have said that there is a fresh take on that, and they are very surprising, the different things that are happening and how it sort of leads through what is happening in Victorian times to what is happening in the present day.
Mm-hmm. Now, were there certain elements of these kinds of books that you tried to avoid in yours? Because some of them can be kind of paint by numbers, where it's like family moves into home, things happen, people die, the end.
Well, I've always been somebody that doesn't sort of go straight down the line. I like to veer off and try different things. And it was quite an amazing journey for me to write the book, because at the initial stages, it was that local to me, there was an old asylum. It was derelict, and then it was converted into luxury apartments. And I thought, oh, yes, that's quite interesting. But although I sort of jot down lots of notes and things throughout my life, oh, yes, I'm always going to write a novel, nothing really happened. And then I happened to see a book called Murders in Hertfordshire. And I was scrolling through it, and I saw that there was actually a murder that took place in the asylum. And what happened, you know, who did it, and what happened to the character in it who was then hung. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's interesting. And I started writing. Then I started writing some more, and then I started jotting down more notes, and then I thought, oh, I could write maybe a story, because I didn't actually think I'd have enough material to write a novel about it. But and it just, for some reason, inspired me in a way that it had never done before. And so I kept writing and writing. And as the characters developed, and this was a part of writing that I actually loved, was being able to create characters. And I will say I probably had a lot more fun with the Victorian characters, because I loved coming up with the names, and I loved to do the research as well. That is a big interest of mine. And so to sort of find out about what lunatic asylums were like, what the East End of London was like, what sort of names I could use, how they spoke, what they did, etc. That was a big plus for me, and so it was a matter of developing the story. And what I found was that the characters created their own story because I knew what they would do and what they wouldn't do. So rather than my imagination, it was the characters leading in terms of where it was going and what developed. So it was a surprising journey for me because I'd never done that before.
So it sounds to me like you're what they call a pantser, someone who just goes by the seat of the pants, no outline, no plan. They just kind of go and see where things take them.
Funny you say that, because when I had started writing some ideas, and I then sort of started, how am I going to do this? And then I decided on the 2 timelines. So what's going to be in chapter 1 and what's going to be in chapter 2? And so there was probably for about the first 10 chapters, I sort of sketched out what would be developing, and really the end of the book, I sort of felt, oh yes, there's going to be because obviously I knew that there was going to be the hanging, and I hadn't thought beyond that. Then it went to the seats of my pants.
Oh, okay. Cool. Now, in doing this, you mentioned that this kind of, the character sort of like took over. They kind of went their own way. Was the ending far removed from what you thought it was going to be?
Yes, because I originally thought the hanging was going to be the ending. But as the plot developed and different sort of connections came out, and there were a lot of things happening which I hadn't expected to happen. So it was a matter of the ending was far beyond what that initial ending point was going to be.
I'm always intrigued by writers when they talk about how their characters sort of took over, and it's like, I had no idea how this is going to go. The characters decided. Let's talk about characters, because in horror movies, some do fall into the category of being cannon fodder. They're there just to be killed by whatever enemy is in the story. How do you make them matter, though? How do you make the characters miss them when they're gone?
I think it's a matter of fleshing out the characters, particularly. I did use several points of view in the book, so that you do get into their head and what they're understanding and expecting, etc. So that the main character, Alex, he thinks he's a straight-up guy. He likes history. He's got a whole load of buddies, and they smoke weed occasionally. They drink a lot of beer. They study hard. He wants a first, etc. But then as he's going through the journey with Claire, who is the one who actually buys the apartment, he finds himself questioning what is reality, and particularly in terms of what he finds out about her or thinks he finds out about her, and he reacts in quite a different way. So it's quite a journey for him. In the Victorian side, you get close to a number of characters, but then things happen to them that, okay, they don't exist anymore. So I do like to kill off my, as well as my excess words, it's about killing off some of your characters. But the probably pivotal scene for me is, and the one that was most difficult to write, was where you actually find out why Mary Grady is actually like she is. And it is quite a shocking chapter. But I think it makes you understand, not that I want you to be sympathetic to her, but you can see why she is like she is.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that this book goes on 2 timelines. We have the past, which kind of looks at the origins of Belle Vue, why it is the way it is, and so forth. I loved that element. I loved just reading about it, and I was drawn to it, okay? Like, the way you wrote it, Cheryl, I was like, I swear she has lived there, because you just knew it so well. The mannerisms, the language, all the little details. What did you know already prior to writing, and what did you have to learn?
I have always liked history, and I studied history at A level, although not at university level. And it's something I love reading, and so I've always got my nose in a book. and particularly things about I am quite a warm and fluffy person, but when I write, it sort of all goes suddenly dark, and I do love anything about death and the supernatural, and it's funny because on my YouTube wall I get loads of videos about memento mori pictures and quite sort of appalling things that go on in real life on the very dark side, and of course if you click on them you're going to end up with them forever. So it is a matter that I do like to go to cemeteries and walk around and read the gravestones, and I love to explore that dark side, and all cultures have it, and all cultures have this strange, or to us anyway, relationship with death and those people that have passed on, and different beliefs, and I find that all very fascinating.
A person who likes to frequent crypts and graveyards and cemeteries and check out the gravestones, that sounds like your next book, I think. I think we're onto something here.
Oh, I know. And I am already writing the second book, but it is the sequel to Belle Vue. There's going to be 3 books in the thing, and it is the main characters from both the Victorian and current going to the USA, and so it does take place in the USA, but particularly like the catacombs in Paris, and yes, there are so many possibilities for stories, etc.
This again is your debut novel, although not the first thing you've written. You wrote a novella, Power, back in 2019, but
yes,
full-length novel, definitely a different thing. Was it hard to walk away when this was done? Was it hard to say no more edits, no more changes, get it out of here?
Well, when I first wrote the book, because it has been a long time in development, and I wrote it and tried to get an agent, and then it sort of sat in the drawer for years and years, and then I tried again. It was twice as long. So
Really? Oh my God! I want to read the uncut version.
So I've done a lot of pruning, and it's funny because I did join a writer's circle, and a lot of people there who were published, they had a lot of novels in their bottom drawer before they got published. But I just wrote the one and used that to keep practicing on, and fine tuning it and pruning it, and every time I got a reject, a lot of people did sort of say, well, cut it down to this size and cut it down to that size. So gradually different characters got deleted, and different events and locations, they were deleted. And then I was lucky enough to be taken on by my agent, and again we then did more pruning. And then when I was taken on by Crystal Lake Publishing, again we did a bit more pruning. There's a little phrase that says "kill your darlings." Well, I'm a mass murderer when it comes to that.
Oh my, that is great.
But at the beginning stages, yes, I loved adverbs, and I used 20 words where 2 or 3 would do, and I explained a lot. And again, I think now, although it's probably obvious that I have done research, hopefully it's not like some books where you read and you sort of have like 2 pages and you think, oh yes, that's their research, and it sort of like rattles off all these, but it doesn't really relate to the story, and there's nobody involved. It's just telling you a lot about what they have found out. But hopefully that's not the case with Belle Vue.
Mm-hmm. I think that Darling Mass Murderer will be a great author's name for you. This this could be like your catchphrase.
Yeah. Kill your darlings, yes.
Just murder them all, kill them all if you have to, which is hard to do. Some people have a very hard time killing characters because, wait, no, this is someone that I created. This is someone who's been with me on the whole journey. You can't just get rid of them. How did all this cutting and pruning, how do you feel it improved the story?
I think it tightened it up, because I think part of the process originally at the beginning was because it was such a new thing for me. I was very much creating the world on paper. So, how the whole asylum looked, how the East End looked, how they behaved, what they were doing, backstory with Alex and his parents and their involvement. So I did cut a lot of that out. And so the explanations of various people and locations and events, it was a matter of pruning it down and tightening it so that only really what people were going to hopefully be interested in remained.
Now that we are soon to be releasing this thing towards the end of August, how does it feel to have your debut novel just waiting to be hitting the bookshelves?
I can't believe it. I'm absolutely thrilled. But then that's taken me into a whole new world, which I had no idea how it worked, or the fact that I would have to be so heavily involved in it. And that's the whole marketing side. And so my skill level, I've never read so many Google articles about, what's a virtual launch, sort of what's a media kit, what's a press release, what's a podcast, what's a book blitz, etc. So it has been quite a steep learning curve for me. Italia and Joe, my agent and publisher, have been brilliant and have really supported me. But at the end of the day, it's my website and it's my social media links and what I do and it's how I approach different bloggers and reviewers, etc. I think what surprised me the most, and I'd never really thought about it before, was that I didn't expect so many doors to be closed, in the sense that if you're not with the big five publishers or you don't have a name, you're not famous, etc., then it is very, very difficult to get doors to open to you. So I'm still in the process. I'm writing to all and sundry, and I've got a review from the Midwest Book Review, which was excellent, and I have got a review from another contact that I had who's a Oscar-nominated Emmy Award winner, and so he'd read and looked at the book and wrote a review for me. So again, a lot of people don't reply. So and it takes an inordinate amount of time, because all of these reviewers and bloggers, they have very stringent criteria on what they're looking for, because they're doing their job, and they have all of these people sending requests for them, and probably a lot of them don't read what these people are looking for, and so it's a matter of reading what they want, adhering to what they want, and that it's in your genre, etc. Looking at how many followers they are, and so you've got to follow them, and then follow, sort of do it on Facebook and Goodreads, etc., and then personalize the request letter, and so all of this does take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this like your full-time job writing, or do you have like a day job?
I do have a career, although obviously I do a lot of consultancy work. I lecture and supervise master's dissertations in 2 universities. One of those stopped. The consultancy has sort of closed down, and the other one, which I do remotely mostly, because the students are all over the world, and that is coming up to my busy period. So I have a lot of work there, which I'm doing.
Yeah, I think for a lot of artists, whether they do music or movies or write books, the marketing is the hardest part, but you gotta do it, because you can't wait. You can't always wait for the agent or the publisher or the what have you to swoop in and say, okay, I'll do this for you. You gotta do it yourself. What's been the biggest challenge?
I'm basically an introvert. I like my company and I'm okay once I get going, but it's the getting going that I find difficult, to have to approach people, and sort of it's a vulnerability for you, because you're sort of saying, well, this is my book or this is me, and you either you get a lot of rejects, so which is fine. I can accept that, but it's difficult to do. It's learning all the skills of what a blog tour is and a book blitz, and I've answered lots of interview questions, and so it's sort of, well, how can I write it so that it's interesting and something that people want to read? Because for me personally, I find it difficult that people want to know about the author. All my friends disagree with me, but I'm not remotely interested in the author. I just want to read the book, and if the book's good, that's what I enjoy. But then I'm obviously this weird person, and that's just the way I think.
It is difficult. I hear that a lot from folks who say that the hardest thing is to put yourself out there, because you've been like living on your computer and living in the world of your book for so many months, if not years. And now you've got to suddenly go to like book expos, and you've got to do readings at like your library or like local coffee shop or what have you. And it's like, I got to deal with people now? No, I don't want to do that thing. I just want to sell the book. I should be able to read it.
And there's no time for writing either.
Oh, I know.
The whole COVID-19, with the closure of everything, has solved my problem a little bit.
Yeah, but sooner or later, that problem will come back. That's the only downside. Sooner or later, things will reopen, and you'll have to go to the expos and go to the libraries and do the public stuff, too. Speaking of which, in your area, what are some of the conventions that you're kind of eyeing that seem like a good fit for your work?
Well, it's very difficult because my agent's in America, my publisher's in South Africa. There was the Horror Writers Association that was actually going to be in England this year, but then, of course, it was all cancelled. And at the moment, nothing seems to be going on. So until time goes on, and probably winter, because of this second wave that may or may not come, and every day we seem to get differing, yes, it's going to open, no, it's not, etc. So it's just a matter of, for the face-to-face, in-person events, as soon as I see something, I'll leap on it and see if it's possible for me to do something. So, I am approaching local radio stations and newspapers, etc. as well, but that's all remote as well.
I'm curious as to some of your preferred authors or filmmakers when it comes to the horror genre. You're so into this stuff, I can definitely tell this is like your sandbox. This is your playground.
Well, I actually read anything. I've even had a Barbara Cartland phase, which dare I admit, but
I know you're just like shattering all the illusions. People have this vision of this twisted dark soul in like some cellar or a cave somewhere. It's like nope.
I know I do. I love horror books because I like to use my imagination. And, Stephen King, sort of Dean Koontz, Clive Barker, all the old Victorian ones and early 20th century as well. Yeah, I've worked my way through most of those. And I like to find new authors, etc. And it's very much a matter of, if I like the story, then I'll read it. Doesn't matter who you are, and I'll look at the first couple of pages and see whether the way you write is something that I feel comfortable with. Because it's funny, you often read the blurb, and then when you start reading it, you think, oh no, I can't get a grip with this, and I don't think I'm going to continue. I'm not one of these that will work through to the bitter end, and if it's really bad, I won't even look at the ending if I'm going to give it up.
In that case, I highly recommend Brian Keene. Best horror writers I've ever come across. I got to actually meet the guy, and it was like meeting a rock star for me. I was like, okay, Max, be cool. Be cool. Internally, I am freaking out. This is the guy whose works I have totally loved. So he's one of my favorite horror writers.
Look at that. And obviously, I'm Stephen King's. I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm way up there. And it was actually his first, or one of his first books, The Stand, was the first one that I read, and that just blew me away.
Yep.
I've sort of read most things ever since.
how long do you usually give a book before you say, okay, I'm done with this? Do you do like a chapter, 2 chapters? You have kind of like a set criteria for that?
It depends on the book. Some, it's just literally a couple of pages, and others it'll be a few chapters. And sometimes it's halfway through, and I'll sort of think, well, where's this going? And then I'll go and cheat and look at the Amazon reviews. It's like some people are reading completely different books, isn't it? You know, and you get the 5-star and then everything down to 1-star, and they all have very strong opinions. And that's the difficulty, isn't it, with reviews? Mm-hmm. I think the ones that cause me most problem, and so far, because this is my debut novel, I haven't really had to deal with it, but it's where a book gets 1 or 2-star reviews, but it's nothing to do with the quality of the content. It's because it was delayed in being delivered, or the cover was damaged, or whatever. Or worse, it gets a 1-star, and then they say, oh, this is a fantastic book, I love you, brilliant. And they don't understand the rating system. So they've rated 1 as the highest. If you haven't got tens of thousands reviews, it makes a difference, and these low ones pull you down, where it might be not on the quality of your writing and storytelling.
So do you think you'll be just like waiting by your Amazon account, just saying, okay, August 25th, let's go, and it's waiting, okay, just like waiting for reviews.
Well, they can't read that quickly.
But some people do reviews after like 1 page. I've seen that. Some people will say, I got, you know, they'll immediately say, amazing book. I'm only like 1 chapter in. Boom, I love it.
And it's funny because when I was doing my research, just in case I was going to contact any celebrities or famous people, it did actually say that you could write the reviews for them and give them a choice. And
wow.
I'll have to think about that.
I feel like we're getting like a bit of a peek kind of behind the curtain of the review world here.
This is all new to me. It's sort of like I've got to learn what the rules are and how to play the game. You know, when I was reading it, it was saying, well, get your marketing team to do this and get your PR people to do that. Well, you know, these are my hats.
I know, right? It's like, that's you. There is no marketing team. It's you. Find the blogs and find the podcasts and the book reviewers to send your stuff to, and you got to be smart about it. I think that's the biggest mistake people make is when they send their horror novel to a person who clearly only reviews like rom-coms or something like that. It's like, do the research, 5 minutes of research, check them out, and then contact them.
And some will say, send the copy, and they'll say, I prefer PDF or Mobi or whatever, and others say, don't send it, and that they want certain headings in the descriptor, they want this information, etc. And it is very prescriptive, and every blogger is different. You do have to take notice of it.
I want to go back to the story. I was hooked in from the very beginning. The first chapter, folks, okay, not for the light of heart, okay? It is brutal, but so well done. Would you say that this book is kind of like a slow boil in terms of the fear factor?
I think it's probably not so much terror.
Yeah.
It is a roller coaster because a lot of things happen in both the Victorian and the present day. The present day is more on the paranormal side. Some things are shocking, others are unexpected, others I think sort of come out of left of centre, and you think, oh, where did that come from? And oh, that's really creepy. And so it's a matter of, it doesn't build up. It's an up and down the whole way through, hopefully to draw your attention.
I think it was either Alex or Claire who mentioned early in the book when they realized what this place used to be. They're like, wait, do we actually want to live here? That's a good question, actually. Did you actually want to live there?
Well, the thing is, Claire really wants to live, given all her experiences, and she hasn't got anywhere to live, so it seems to fit everything that she wants. For Alex, her boyfriend, seeing it also fits what he views, because it's a stunning apartment, it's got lovely views, it's got the history, and it's everything you could want. But for Marianne, her friend, who had a sort of a bit of a nasty experience when it was a derelict asylum when she was younger, she's not convinced at all about it, and she tries to put the damper on it, but then she doesn't win. But then later on, she does actually move in.
Jeez. See, the red flag right there is that it's perfect. No place is perfect.
No.
Big red flag there, guys. Come on, you should definitely know better. I'm curious as to what kind of horror setting freaks you out.
It's funny, in books, I like to read it, and it'll creep me out, and it'll scare me, and it's not slasher and gore. It's just that sense of creepiness, and it can be as simple, and there is a scene in the book where she's lying in the dark, and she's sort of saying, did the door move? And that creeps me out. Things like that you don't know what might be going on, and you use your imagination. For horror movies, and this is a real admittance, I tend to look at it from behind a magazine and peer out. I'm not very brave when it comes to horror movies, so but I do like them. I like the creepy ones rather than the slasher and gore. But yes, I know it's fake, and I know it's fiction, but I can't watch all of them.
It's your imagination. It does you in, because you're like logically, okay, yeah, this isn't real. This is a work of fiction, but your imagination's like, wait, what if it is real? And that's all it takes. Like, never mind. I'm terrified. I'm the same way, actually, when I'm watching horror films. I'm like, okay, blanket over the head or something like that, or I'll watch it with like my glasses down. I'll like put in my hands so I can like plug my ears a little bit and move the glasses down. I'm totally safe from this.
You're a coward after my own heart.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. The second time through, I'm totally good. Watch it again, I'm good.
Well, no, even The Grudge, I've sort of tried to watch several times, and I just can't. That really does scare me.
Did you watch the original Japanese version? Or
yes.
Oh, okay. The good version, I'll say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we had this phase. We were bringing all these like films from these like horror films from Japan to the States. I don't know why. It just kind of started and stopped. It was like The Grudge, I think The Eye, Shudder.
Yes, because the originals are superb, aren't they? And,
so much better. So much better. I also want to ask you about working with Crystal Lake Publishing. Of course, we've talked about them before on different episodes. A great company, folks. Check them out. How'd you come to work with them, and what's that process been like?
I came to work with them through my agent, Natalia Gandolfo, and she got them on board with my book, and we just seemed to hit it off. And Joe Monica and all of his team have been so supportive, and they really improved the book in terms of, fine tuning and that. And I was quite surprised that they did so much work with me on it. So, and now with the whole marketing side and getting contacts and all of that, then again, and getting all the print versions and the ebook versions and the audio version and getting it all sorted out. They've been wonderful.
Okay.
And I'm thrilled to be with them.
Okay. So there's also an audiobook version coming out?
It will be in the audio.
Oh, I can't wait to check that out. I love audiobooks. I am well down the Audible rabbit hole. Cheryl, this has been a lot of fun talking to you. I definitely enjoyed learning more about you and also the book. And folks, if you want to learn more about Cheryl, you go to CSALLEYNE.com. That's the author website. Again, this is being released on August 25th. There will be an ebook version, an audiobook version. Check it all out, Cheryl. Thank you so much for talking to me.
And a paperback.
Yes, paperback too. Get your print copies, get your print, your ebook, your audiobook. Check it all out, Cheryl. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Max.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian Murphy from One Time Mountain, and you're listening to Citywide Blackout with Max Bowen.
Rock on.
All right, folks, that's it for this episode. Thanks again for joining me. You can follow the show on Facebook under Citywide Blackout, Twitter and Instagram under Citywide Max, and check out citywideblackout.blogspot.com. Listen to the show on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and every Saturday at 10 p.m. on Boston Free Radio. As always, keep those ears open.